Welcome back. Today we're diving into the world of late night chats, warm drinks, and mystical creatures with Coffee Talk 2, Hibiscus, and Butterfly. If you love the first game, you're probably wondering, does the sequel brew up the same magic, or does it leave a bitter aftertaste? Let's find out. Before we get into the nitty gritty, let's talk about what Coffee Talk is. For those who might be new here, it's a visual novel set in an alternate version of Seattle where you run a late night coffee shop, serving warm drinks to an assortment of fantasy creatures, elves, orcs, vampires, and banshees, all while listening to their life stories. Episode 2, subtitled Hibiscus and Butterfly, brings some fresh elements into the mix, new characters, new drinks, and a bit more refinement in how the story unfolds. But at its core, it's still the same comfy, dialogue-driven experience. Think of it as catching up with an old friend over a cup of tea, soothing, familiar, and packed with meaningful conversation. Let's start with what this game does best, the vibes. The pixel art, gorgeous. The music, chill and lofi, perfect for curling up with a hot drink. The rain, the dim lighting, the cozy coffee shop, it all creates an ambience that is unmatched in this visual novel space. And there are subtle improvements here. More dynamic animations, more environmental storytelling, and small but effective UI tweaks that make the experience even smoother. The game absolutely nails its presentation. One of the biggest joys of Coffee Talk is the characters. Episode 2 brings back some fan favourites like Freya, Lua, Hyde, and while introducing newcomers who quickly steal the spotlight. Take Riona for example. She's a banshee who struggles with being judged for her voice despite her dreams of becoming a singer. Her arc is incredibly heartfelt. Then there's Luca, a social media influencer who challenges the slow life philosophy of the coffee shop. Each new character brings something fresh to the table, making the conversation even more engaging. Now let's talk about the drinks, because what's a coffee shop without, well, coffee? Episode 2 introduces 2 new tea bases, Hibiscus and Butterfly Pea. They add a little more variety to your brewing options, though let's be honest, the drink making isn't super deep. That said, serving the right drink can subtly affect the story. Some character arcs have small branching paths depending on what you make for them. It's not a huge change, but it gives you a reason to experiment and replay certain moments. Dialogue is where this game really shines. The conversations feel natural, sometimes deep, sometimes light-hearted, but always engaging. Episode 2 also tackles some heavier themes: self-acceptance, career struggles, and balancing personal dreams with societal expectations, all through the lens of fantasy world. It's impressive how these supernatural characters feel so incredibly human. There's also a stronger overarching narrative this time, tying multiple characters together. It's subtle but effective, making the game feel more cohesive compared to the first. Now while the storytelling is strong, the pacing can be really slow at times. Some arcs take a while to get going, and if you're waiting for a particular character to return, you might be sitting through some less engaging moments. The conversations can also feel repetitive, especially if you already know what drink a character wants, but still have to go through the motions. Let's be real, if you're hoping for major gameplay changes, you won't find them here. It's still mostly reading and making drinks. There are no real consequences for serving the wrong drink beyond minor dialogue tweaks. A more in-depth branching system would have added a lot to the experience. While the lo-fi soundtrack is soothing, it also doesn't offer much variety. After a while, you start to notice the same few tracks looping. More diversity in the music selection would have gone a long way. And there's also not much innovation. If you wanted a drastic evolution of Coffee Talk, this isn't it. It's more like an expansion than a full-fledged sequel. It's still enjoyable, but it plays things very safe. If you're expecting something radically different, you might be a little bit disappointed. So how does Hibiscus and Butterfly compare to the original? The storytelling feels more refined with deeper character arcs. The new drink mechanics add slight variety but don't revolutionize gameplay. Overall, it's a smoother, more polished experience, but not a drastic departure.